A sudden, piercing scream shattered the serenity of the suburban night, slicing through the air with the urgency of a siren. Flames erupted from the small two-story house at the end of Maple Lane, transforming its cozy facade into a fiery inferno. Bright orange embers clung to the surrounding trees, casting an ominous glow against the rapidly darkening sky. Within moments, firefighters arrived on the scene, their trucks' red lights flickering like a restless heartbeat. The team sprang into action, their movements choreographed by countless drills and the instinct of experience. Leading them was Captain Jack Avery, a seasoned firefighter whose resolve was as ironclad as the very ladders they wielded. With his weathered face partially obscured by his helmet, Jack's calm voice belied the chaos as he barked out orders, steadying the fear that threatened to unmoor his younger colleagues. Smoke billowed, thick and oppressive, swallowing the world in a choking haze. Neighbors gathered at a safe distance, a collective gasp escaping their lips as the blaze consumed memories, pictures, and promises of the family, once cradled by those walls. Jack's mind raced as he reviewed what he knew. An elderly couple lived there, devoted pillars of the community, who hosted backyard barbecues and told stories of their travels. He could not allow the family portraits, now silhouetted against the flames, to become mere relics of what was. Clad in fire-resistant gear and courage, Jack led his team towards the inferno, every step a battle against the roaring beast before them. As they breached the searing entrance, the heat and smoke bore down, but the possibility of rescuing those trapped inside fueled their movements. They stayed low, navigating the warped geography of what was once a loving home, their flashlights cutting slivers of light into the suffocating darkness. Searching through the suffocating layers of heat and smoke, Jack scanned every blurred outline for signs of the couple. A muffled cry caught his ear, faint amidst the roaring cacophony. Each member of the team operated like a cog in a well-oiled machine, their synchronized movements and steady breaths breaking the maze of feverish destruction. Meanwhile, back outside, the air hung heavy with anticipation and hope, as concerned faces watched the unfolding scene, knowing with a shared, unspoken certainty that their cherished neighbors' lives hung in the balance. The night teemed with chaos, a symphony of overwhelming sensory details that assailed the senses. Sirens wailed with a haunting persistence, slicing through the tumult like cries of 100 anguished banshees. Flashing lights painted the landscape in frantic strokes of red and blue, casting jagged shadows that danced across the faces of onlookers, frozen in a tableau of shock and dismay. Firefighters, dressed in heavy gear, became silhouettes of purpose against the inferno, their movements a blur of urgency. As they raced against the ravenous flames, their radios crackled with clipped, urgent voices, commands scarcely discernible over the cacophony of destruction surrounding them. The bitter scent of smoke clung to the air, too thick to breathe, an invisible cloak that stung eyes and seared lungs. Underfoot, the ground beneath quivered with the pounding of boots, the synchronized rhythm echoing the collective heartbeat of the team as they plunged deeper into the chaos. Amidst this disarray, Captain Jack Avery emerged as a steadfast figure, the eye within this turbulent storm. His voice, calm yet commanding, cut through the tumult, a beacon guiding his team through the maelstrom. He navigated the lattice of fallen beams and debris, with practiced ease, flashlight in one hand, his other raised in a protective gesture that seemed to ward off the encroaching shadows of despair. Around him the flames roared like a caged beast, snarling and snapping, each flare an insistent reminder of the ever-pressing danger. Yet within this hellscape, Jack's focus never wavered. He zeroed in on the clues hidden within the chaos. The muffled cries that whispered of life behind charred walls, the rippling heat distortion that mirrored the desperation of those yet to be found. Outside, the scene buzzed with activity. Firefighters from neighboring districts congregated in a seamless procession of cooperation, their trucks lined like loyal sentinels, ensuring none could move unprotected through this fiery theater. Spectators, neighbors and strangers alike, clutched at their own arms, warding off the cold chill of fear that even the inferno could not banish, their eyes darting from firefighter to blaze, translating hope into silent prayers as they waited for a sign. A hand raised in triumph, a body shielded from the flames gratefully bearing the weight of salvation. Through this vibrant tableau of chaos and life, Jack and his team stitched a tenuous thread of determination, weaving it slowly through the tapestry of destruction, transforming despair into action, with each heartbeat, each breath drawn in defiance of the consuming inferno. Amidst the chaos, scattered fragments told a story more compelling than words ever could, each piece a snapshot frozen in time, revealing and concealing in equal measure. An open window on the top floor shone like a distant hope, its glass reflecting the flames with a deceptive clarity, hinting at a life just beyond reach. Curtains flapped wildly against the heat, half consumed by the fire's appetite, their dance stirring an urgency amid the elements. Nearby, a child's toy lay abandoned on the lawn, its once bright colors dulled by ash and the residue of smoke, a silent testimony to innocence interrupted, raising silent questions about the lives once cradling it. Onlookers caught in a moment of tense anticipation held their breath, faces drawn into a mask of collective dread yet unwilling to look away, each expression a flurry of emotions, fear, hope, anguish, that mingled and clashed like the wind stoking the inferno. In the midst of this turmoil, Captain Jack Avery pushed forward, his mind a swarm of fragments stitching themselves into a clearer mission. A fallen photograph, half buried in soot and glowing lightly from the encroaching flames, caught his eye, a family portrait, its edges curling like the pages of a forgotten book. Jack's boots crunched over the remnants of the home, passing a cracked picture frame holding steadfast, despite the inferno's relentless grasp. A still, surreal calm washed over him amidst the chaos, driving his focus ever sharper. His team moved with him, figures blurred in the smoky darkness, their murmured exchanges punctuating the crackling destruction that surrounded them. Outside, a figure appeared unstable, mere flickers of presence silhouetted by the erratic glow of emergency lights. A firefighter's family member, perhaps, or a spectator who knew the couple trapped within, their posture heavy with dread yet unwavering in its vigil. Each fragment, every anemic glow of flashlights skimming over scorched surfaces, amplified the urgency. A reminder that life hung by threads as fragile as the brittle walls standing stubbornly against the consuming fire. Shadows danced with molten urgency, and even amid their foreboding waltz, Jack pulled strength from the discord, piecing together clues to navigate the rescue with determination, driven to transform the unfinished stories left in charred husks into narratives of survival against overwhelming odds. The intense heat engulfed Captain Jack Avery, wrapping around him like a living entity, oppressive and unyielding. Each step he took through the smoldering ruins felt like pushing against a tidal wave of searing flames. His heart pounded relentlessly against his ribcage, setting a hard, rhythmic beat that echoed in his ears and blurred with the distant cries and crackles of destruction. Beneath his heavy firefighting suit, sweat slicked his skin, pooling along his back and dripping down his forehead in steady rivulets to be wicked away by his brow. His breaths came in shallow, measured gasps, fighting for every bit of oxygen amidst the thickening smoke that clawed at his throat, eager to suffocate his resolve. The acrid scent of burning wood and melting synthetics overpowered his senses, a bitter testament to what had been lost and what still might be saved. Each breath, short and labored, burned with the promise of exertion, yet he pushed forward, driven by the stubborn flicker of hope simmering beneath the weight of fear. Beside him, the rest of his team moved with synchronized precision, yet none were immune to the tangible grasp of anxiety that clung to them like a second skin. Andrew, the youngest in the unit, felt his fingers tremble despite the protective gloves, every muscle in his body thrumming with the electric tension of adrenaline. His breaths were ragged, coming faster and faster, chest heaving as if trying to outrun the very flames surrounding them. Across their faces, beneath helmets stained with soot and courage, determination warred visibly with trepidation, unspoken questions flickering in glances exchanged beneath the smoky gloom. The fire roared all around, a beast fed by the collapse of what was once a safely nestled life. Yet even within this hellish crucible, a laser focus guided each firefighter, a shared, unyielding determination to rescue the lives trapped amidst the inferno's jaws. The pressure in the air was palpable, a hammering force that exerted its will upon their bodies, yet their hearts raced in a different rhythm, one of unwavering commitment. It was a demanding dance with danger, each step fraught with the tactile sensation of urgency, the battle against both the external blaze and the internal fear searing an indelible mark on their resolve. The sweat-soaked determination in their actions transformed each breath, a steady, throaty reaffirmation of their mission, turning chaotic sensations into the orchestra of heroic effort. As Jack pushed further into the blaze's heart, a new urgency seized him. A relentless ticking clock, encased within the roar of the fire, reminding him at every fiery intersection of the gnawing constraints of time. The inferno's heat battered his senses, and yet now, beneath the helmet, an insistent countdown reverberated louder than the clamor of destruction surrounding them. The rhythmic beeping of his oxygen gauge punctuated the chaos, each beep a stark reminder that both air and time were slipping away with disturbing rapidity. Hazardous debris flickered ominously underfoot, each obstacle a potential thief of precious seconds, and Jack's focus sharpened until it was honed to a precise point of intensity. Somewhere amid the churning ocean of smoke, a single radio crackled sharply to life, tactical command relaying updates, their clipped tones underscoring the diminishing window for rescue. The voices carried not just urgency, but the collective weight of critical decision-making, borne by those on the brink. The awareness of constrained time pulled Jack into laser-guided awareness, eyes flickering toward any sign of those still needing rescue. A pair of silhouettes huddled in an upstairs room, the scouts narrowed down just minutes before. Outside, the urgency unfolded like a tightly woven tapestry. Every firefighter synchronized to an unforgiving timeline, where half a heartbeat could determine life or death. The scene outside was ablaze with frenetic activity as additional units arrived. All were coordinated by an intricate dance, created by the mutual understanding of time's fleeting grasp. Thick hoses unfurled in military precision, directing a concentrated assault on the flames that threatened to swallow whole the fragile structures clinging stubbornly to their existence. On the periphery, paramedics prepared contingencies for the swift triage and transport of survivors. Every breath of fresh air inhaled and exhaled counted in seconds, transitioning into crosstalk on standby radios. Life-saving gear was primed with the silent echo of urgency, a pulse that pounded within the heart of each responder alike. Spectators, tethered together by shared hope and apprehension, felt every second viscerally, understanding the shared equation: minutes equated to lives. Jack's team, attuned to these rhythms, moved with near-militant efficacy, embodied by the intense rhythm of their own inward ticking, focus sharper than ever. With each step their resolve was carved from the constricting breath of time, every movement calculated, aimed toward delivering salvation from the jaws of the temporal trap threatening to close. Through this precarious symphony of urgency, Jack and his team cast their stakes against the ticking warriors, intent on beating the countdown emblazoned across their efforts, wresting life from the advancing hands of the clock amidst the all-consuming blaze. Amidst the clangor of destruction and the weight of urgency, Jack's mind flickered back to a moment cradled in the calm embrace of everyday life, a tranquil memory that unfurled itself like a soothing balm over his senses. It was a sun-drenched afternoon just last week when he'd taken a rare privilege, a lazy day off to savor with his young daughter, Lucy. They were at the local park where the sky stretched infinitely, and the air bore the soft scent of earth and blooming daisies. Jack remembered Lucy's laughter, a bell-like chime that pierced through the serenity as she raced across the grass, her shoes alternating between whispers and thumps on the verdant earth beneath. Together they lay on the picnic blanket beneath the canopy of leaves, watching clouds paint tales of whimsical animals and castles in the sky. Lucy, with her bright, inquisitive eyes set like stars against her cherubic face, had peppered him with questions about everything and anything, seemingly intent on unraveling the secrets of the universe. He recalled with vivid clarity the simple joy etched across her small face, each kernel of discovery lighting it up like a midsummer sunrise. As the memory dissolved into the ash-streaked present, the juxtaposition was stark. Noise and chaos once again filled his senses. Yet the memory held its ground as a bastion of peace amid the storm. It was a beacon guiding his resolve, reminding him why each second mattered so profoundly. The ordinary beauty of life he shared with Lucy, and her endless curiosity about the world served as a primal driver behind each step, propelling him unwaveringly through the tangle of flames and remains. It was a poignant reminder that the very chaos he faced was but another contrast to the ordinary moments that stitched lives together. This stark contrast adamantly whispered a profound truth amidst the fiercely burning world, a truth about fragility and resilience, setting Jack's path alight with determination sharper than fire's bite. Through licking embers that sought to consume all in their way, Jack and his team surged forward, fortified by the unyielded peace of ordinary life, the quotidian, infinitely more powerful than the Pyrrhic spectacle attempting to steal it away. In this communion of chaos and stillness, Jack found clarity, his end goal drawn in the vivid, vibrant colors of daily life, a destiny he carried through to ensure others like him knew the beauty and serenity of peaceful afternoons spent in the calming embrace of loved ones. Amidst the high-stakes backdrop of their mission, the camaraderie among Jack and his team served as an anchor, a steadying force as consistent as it was comforting. Between calls, back at the firehouse, there was an easy rhythm to their lives, punctuated by inside jokes and routines that transformed the otherwise ordinary into the memorably familial. Seated around the worn, sturdy kitchen table, evenings would find the crew engaged in animated debates, voices rising and falling like the swing of a pendulum. Topics ranged from the best way to grill a steak, meticulously debated by Oscar, an indisputable connoisseur, to the ongoing tally of who had allegedly saved whose backside in the field more times. It was in these simple, irreverent conversations that the foundation of their formidable trust was laid, reinforced by laughter that echoed in the rafters like balm for their souls. Their charred souls wore vivid stories upon them, stories that became catalysts for banter, Oscar's uncanny knack of setting off the smoke alarm, while cooking especially. Each antic became a beloved thread in the fabric of their collective history. When not immersed in such riveting, though trivial disputes, the team found solace in well-worn rituals that marked the passing time between dispatch calls. Every Sunday, without fail, a communal pot of chili bubbled away on the stove. It was a culinary tradition initiated by one of their earliest members, a comforting fixture long after the originator had moved on. Andrew, the newcomer on the crew, was often tasked with keeping a vigilant watch over the simmering pot, having earned the right through a good-natured hazing process he called his rite of passage. The air would fill with a rich, spicy aroma, a warm contrast to the acrid scent of smoke that tainted their professional lives. As they ladled bowls in the glow of the kitchen's fluorescent lights, Tim, their resident optimist, would recount his latest attempt at mastering the guitar, strumming gregariously through renditions of old rock anthems, much to everyone's feigned dismay. The moments were fleeting, yet so rich with the aura of normalcy and intimacy that they sustained a deep-seated strength, fortifying the bonds that bound them under Jack's leadership. In the quiet interludes, gestures of support occurred, quick pats on shoulders, shared glances of understanding, and the silent vow of shared risk that didn't need utterance. These were the moments that transcended duty, where each heartbeat aligned with a greater purpose, binding them into one collective force, capable of facing fiery beds and coming through as victors, each time valuing the personal touch carried from their haven at the firehouse into the blistering dance with flames. As the echoes of laughter faded and the firehouse settled into a gentle hum of post-meal contentment, Jack found himself lingering at the edges of the group, a quiet observer to the camaraderie he cherished so deeply, while his face reflected the easygoing relief that always followed a shared meal and banter. Below the surface, a knot of worry tugged persistently at the corners of his mind. It was Lucy. The flicker in her normally bright eyes the last time they spoke whispered of burdens she was too young to carry. Her school had sent notices about her teacher's concerns, hints of distraction and subdued enthusiasm replacing her former vivaciousness. Jack recalled the discord beneath her laughter, a subtle vibration of apprehension trailing her words. He tried to brush it aside as the inevitable ebb and flow of childhood's emotional tides, but the father's intuition in him was finely attuned, restless with uneasy questions and unanswered threads. Watching his team relax into the routine solace, a sharp pang of awareness punctuated his internal disquiet. Beneath the helmet of resilience lay a man caught in the duality of worlds, protector in flames, protector in life. Even as Jack sat among the team, adding his own stories to their long archive of shared experiences, taped together by laughter, the specter of Lucy's troubles lingered, like a half-heard melody. The memory of her small hand slipping into his, seeking reassurance in a world that suddenly seemed vast and unpredictable, weighed heavier than his firefighting gear amidst the inferno. Every phone call, with its promise of connecting them if just for a moment, underscored the distance he feared was growing between them. In the camaraderie of the firehouse he sought comfort from that quiet worry that threatened to unravel the peace of each passing day. His colleagues' laughter was real, the moments genuine yet fleeting, slipping through time's fingers with a silken grace that only underscored the gravity of each heartbeat, each promise to shield her from life's complexities. In these unsaid spaces, Jack acknowledged a solitary truth. The consuming nature of concern, like an ember quietly glowing, could become emboldened on a gust of doubt. It was a truth that held him fast, even amid the mirthful exchanges, a reminder that courage wasn't solely for battling flames, but also for confronting the worries life handed you off duty, a reminder that even life's quiet storms needed facing with steadfast resolve. The cozy drone of post-dinner banter in the firehouse was suddenly severed by the sharp, insistent crackle of the radio dispatch, cutting through the warm harmony like a needle scraping across a favorite record. The room shifted immediately, laughter vanishing as swiftly as a mirage in the desert sun, replaced by the adrenalized buzz of the alarm bell engulfing the air. Polished boots once propped comfortably on tattered tables hit the floor with decisive purpose. Jack's heartbeat synced with the urgency of the moment, his personal musings swiftly shelved under the practiced support of shared duty. The voice over the dispatch, though faceless, painted a vivid, urgent picture. A residential fire had erupted down on Brookside Avenue. The call to action was clear and concise, laden with the inherent gravity of lives at stake and time slipping away like sand through an hourglass. With minimal words needed, his team slid into their well-rehearsed roles, muscle memory dictating their motions as equipment was snatched from its rightful place, helmets secured with a practiced tug. The frictionless flow of activity was new-page crisp, every gesture resonating with the seriousness of their task. The fire engine roared to life, a beast awakened, and its siren wailed an urgent chorus into the night. Jack slid into his designated seat, the eyes that had reflected concern moments before, now sharpening with acute focus, and around him, his crew sat, a cavalcade of resolve, ready to storm the battleground once more. The familiarity of the journey, the radio updates crackling in dynamic rhythm with the tires' whine against the road, served as a galvanizing whisper, underscoring unity amidst the flash of emergency lights racing past shuttered homes. Every bump on the road, every hiss of the hydraulic brakes, every squawk of radio updates melded into one, creating a rhythm mapped out like the breathing chest of the engine's life. Jack's thoughts pared down, clarity aligning with the single path forward, each beat of the heart calling for urgency, each moment stolen by splendored flames marking the stark delineation between chaos and the salvation they sought to deliver, as the distance between their resolute calm and the fiery tempest steadily shortened. The firehouse's hum was abruptly pierced by the dispatch radio's crackling voice, shattering the gentle post-meal tranquility with crisp urgency. "Attention, Station 14. The voice delivered with clipped precision, commanding immediate attention. Residential structure fire reported at 224 Brookside Avenue. Repeat, 224 Brookside Avenue. Occupants possibly trapped. All units respond immediately." The urgency in those words pricked at Jack's nerves, an electric current igniting the air, each syllable as sharp as glass, sending a jolt through his weary bones. The statement, so plain yet so charged, severed the cords of casual comfort, vaulting his team from the camaraderie of shared warmth into the charged atmosphere of action. Voices silenced, and the firehouse itself seemed to hold its breath in the pause following the message. A heartbeat between knowing and doing, between the call and the charge. In a response as synchronized and fluid as a dance, the team shed their camaraderie and donned the armor of duty. Boots thudded against the floor in a declaration of intent, echoing off walls like war drums heralding a new campaign. Helmets clicked into place, gear was snatched from hooks, each piece completing their transformation into the stalwart protectors prepared to face the flames anew. The fire engine thundered to life outside, its siren, an insistent wail that layered over the dispatch's command, harmonizing urgency and resolve. Jack's mind sharpened, the transition from companion to captain as seamless as the slide into his seat, his gaze piercing the night with renewed focus. Around him, his team settled with him, each embodying a concentrated calm, ready to translate the urgency of dispatch orders into life-saving action. Inside the engine, radio updates provided a steady narrative alongside the pounding rhythm of rubber on concrete, each moment unfurling toward a singular goal, a resolve to turn whispers of chaos on Brookside Avenue into tales of rescue, marked by the determined bravery of those who refused to let flames write the final chapter. As they rolled toward destiny, the engine's mighty pulse counted their resolve, threading a line between duty's call and the blazing threat that awaited. As the engine surged forward into the night, a palpable shift swept through its enclosed space, transforming the atmosphere from the casual warmth of camaraderie into a realm of steely resolve. Each pair of eyes under those helmets sharpened, reflecting a hardened determination that matched the resolve steeling their muscles. The easy banter and soft edges that usually lingered around them melted away, replaced by a steeliness that forged them into a singular unit against the inferno. Faces that had been animated with smiles moments ago now took on the calm, cool expressions of warriors preparing for battle, each firefighter finding solace in the mechanics of focus that drove their mission. Silence expanded within the vehicle, growing thick and heavy, a purposeful quiet that underscored an unspoken oath to those waiting at Brookside Avenue. The only sounds now were the rumbling power of the fire engine, the steady clip from the dispatch radio, and the occasional rustle of gear repositioning in readiness. Jack, sitting at the helm, closely observed the change in demeanor as his team morphed from spirited comrades to concentrated professionals. The loss of youthful cheer on Andrew's face was replaced with the composed maturity that duty demanded, his boyish features set with a maturity beyond his years. Across from him, Oscar stared ahead, his usual affable demeanor replaced by a readiness that carried traces of personal battles remembered. Even Tim, usually an irrepressible optimist, wore an expression devoid of his ever-present grin, his focus turned inward, chiseling resolve from the buoyancy that had defined him outside this urgent context. Nothing needed to be said. This collective silence was a testament stronger than spoken words, an acknowledgement of the gravity of their roles and the weight of the responsibility they bore. Each kilometer that passed under the thundering wheels carried them closer to the blaze, each moment a taut string pulling them toward a destiny determined to test their mettle. Through the haze of lights and sirens, the silence reigned supreme, weaving an unbreachable link between hearts beating in synchrony with a singular purpose, invincible and undivided, preparing them to face the impending chaos with every fiber of their being, unyielding and unstoppable until their mission was fulfilled. As the fire engine approached its destination, the change from the calm interior to the vibrant scene of urgency outside heightened the focus and precision of the team's every move. Upon arrival, the air was ablaze with an intensity that matched the inferno awaiting them. The firefighters exited the vehicle with a unified burst of energy, falling into a synchronized dance of readiness, honed by countless hours of training and experience. The chaotic backdrop of flames lit up their faces as they engaged in the ritualistic gear check, a ballet of precision in stark contrast to the disordered blaze. Gloves were tugged tightly, ensuring every seam met flesh with purpose. Helmets were adjusted, chin straps clicked into place with the reassuring snap of readiness, and air gauges were double-checked with the seriousness of lifelines counting down. Tools and equipment laid ready for deployment were gathered with swift, deliberate movements, each piece becoming an extension of their trained resolve. The rhythm of this practiced routine transformed the men into more than just individuals on a mission. They became a collective force armored with focus, every gesture calculated to maximize efficiency and effectiveness. Jack moved among them, his eyes scanning his team with the swift gaze of an eagle, checking for anything amiss in their hastily donned armor of resolve and determination. His voice, calm and authoritative, cut through the noise, offering succinct confirmations and reminders. Masks tight, radios checked, he prompted, and each firefighter nodded in response, engaging the systems linking them in a web of communication vital for their mission. As he captured each man's attention, ensuring no important detail was overlooked, their collective vigilance echoed a silent pact: they were ready. Around them, the air crackled with heat and urgency, as the roar of the fire formed a vivid backdrop to their operational focus. Communication was limited to short, need-to-know exchanges. Fingers flashed signals, and eyes locked in wordless agreement, their actions painting bold strokes against the fiery canvas. As hoses were uncoiled and nozzles checked, the cacophony around them faded into the singular clarity of their mission, each step purposeful and deliberate, gears meshing smoothly as they approached the consuming jaws of danger. This silent precision was their shield in the storm, a moment of poised prowess before they stormed into the inferno with nothing but tenacity and their bond forged in fire. As the firehouse doors groaned open, the fire truck roared to life in the dim light of dawn, its engine a low, steady growl reverberating through the morning air. With a synchronized hum of powerful machinery, the truck rolled out into the waking world, a harbinger of both purpose and urgency. The surrounding cityscape blurred past the cab's windows as they departed, the familiar streets lined with sleepy houses where dreams lingered in corners yet untouched by the day's light. The morning fog wrapped the truck like a cloak, parting in whispers as the vehicle charged onward to its destination. Inside, the firefighters sat as stalwart sentinels, each silent in their thoughts, eyes forward, expressions set with resolve that carved through the interior, like a knife through butter. Every bump in the road carried an echo, each vibration a reminder of the urgency pulsating beneath their journey's surface. The fire engine's siren wailed a haunting melody that pierced the serene quietude of suburbia, scattering birds and heralding their passage with its echoing cry of vigilance. As they moved from the familiar sanctity of their base to the unpredictable chaos awaiting, the landscape transformed from concrete familiarity to an unknown battlefield, painted in tones of impending intensity. The city's periphery faded to blurred memories, transforming into open roads that steered them towards a crimson horizon, ready to meet their courage full force. Street lamps became spectral witnesses, flickering in acknowledgement as they passed beneath their glow, illuminating the path that seemed to lead into a realm defined by smoke and firelight. Hope and caution mingled in the rhythmic thunder of the truck's tires, told in chapters through every passing mile. Within this metal exoskeleton, Jack and his men prepared mentally, their silent camaraderie, a comforting presence that neither the dark nor the distance could diminish. As Jack took a reassuring glance at his partners in arms, he drew strength from their shared commitment, a tangible energy radiating within the compartment. The engine's vibrations harmonized with their heartbeats as they barreled forward, transforming into a bridge between the roles they left behind and the warriors they needed to become, each mile threading their shared tapestry of bravery until the final thread compelled them headlong into the fiery breach. The fire truck hurtled towards its call of duty, no longer a mere vehicle but a symbol of unwavering valor and the silent promise of salvation amidst the brewing storm. Inside the fire truck, the atmosphere was charged with an intensity that words would struggle to define, a palpable energy thrumming through the confines like a low-frequency hum. This was the space where minimal dialogue spoke volumes, where the silence was not empty but filled instead with the weight of unspoken resolve and shared determination. Eyes flicked occasionally towards one another, glances exchanged that carried the urgency of their mission without a single syllable needing to be uttered. The cabin's interior was awash in the muted glow of dashboard lights, painting each firefighter's face in a mix of shadows and purpose, distilling them down to essentials: duty, courage, and camaraderie. The routine announcements and brief updates crackled through the radio, no words wasted, transmitting what needed to be known over the persistent whine of the siren. The road ahead stretched in wavering lines, reflected on visors dusted with the residue of past battles, the miles marked in heartbeats as their minds synchronized to their call's immediacy. Jack observed his crew with a practiced eye, his own presence seeming to fill the tight space with a steadying calm, as if their combined focus shielded them against the uncertainties awaiting at their destination. He sensed the rhythm around him, the slight tension in Andrew's shoulders as he mentally ran through fire suppression protocols. Tim's fingers, normally restless, now uncharacteristically still on his lap. Oscar's eyes, fixed out the window, likely replaying strategy in mind. The unyielding horizon beyond their windshield was a reminder that catastrophe waited with an ever-watchful eye. Yet here, in this sanctuary of silence, they harnessed the fusion of their collective knowledge, tilting the balance of fate in favor of survival. The vehicle thrummed with the anticipation of impact, the air infused with a heavy scent of rubber and diesel, layered over the reticent breathing that filled each gap in the cacophony, just beyond their confines. Here, beneath the layer of professionalism, their shared legacy of saved lives and silent losses weighed down like an invisible tapestry, its threads woven into the very essence of who they had become, figures forged in fire ready to stand defiant once more. In these precious moments ahead of action's impending gauntlet, they fortified themselves against doubt, binding their conviction regardless of the unknown yet to be ignited on Brookside Avenue. As the fire truck roared onward through the waking streets, the mind of each firefighter became a canvas on which worst-case scenarios unfolded, sketched in stark detail by experience and instinct. Jack, at the helm of this resolute troop, allowed himself a moment of anticipation, visualizing the scene they would soon confront on Brookside Avenue. The possibilities fanned out in his mind, each outcome demanding their vigilance and skill. Flames danced with ominous ferocity, consuming everything in their path, roofs already collapsing into smoldering ruins, their charred skeletons silhouetted against the morning sky, windows shattered by pressure, their jagged shards scattered like teeth across blackened lawns. He imagined the acrid smoke winding around them, hot and relentless, weaving through the air like a living entity determined to engulf all within its grasp. The trapped echoes of unseen voices crying for help reverberated in the corridors of his mind, those precious pleas for salvation emerging from rooms deep within the structure, perhaps barricaded by debris or hidden by thickening smoke. These visions were more than just spectral fears, they were reminders etched deep in Jack's memory, each a story that demanded a triumphant end. Beside him, the team's collective consciousness mirrored Jack's, each of his crew framing their internal narratives of readiness, fortified by training and resolution. As the landscape outside their windows unfolded, bathed in the soft glow of a sun yet to rise in full defiance, their minds whirred in sync with the truck's engine. Andrew could picture the frantic choreography of neighbors frantically sprayed by hose streams that glistened in the dying dawn, the streets filled with the frantic tapestry of emergency lights weaving their urgency across shattered glass. Tim, usually the optimist, saw the fraught faces of those peering from behind barricades of fire trucks, scanning for signs of hope amidst the chaos. Oscar imagined the labyrinthine structure awaiting them, already marking the path through smoke-choked hallways they would have to conquer, mapping out the treasure trove of lives they had resolved to save. This visualization wasn't born of pessimism, but of preparation. Every heartbeat, every practice scenario replayed, aligned them toward the singular truth that their courage could transmute imagined horror into heroic reality. Emboldened by these mental projections, they held fast to the belief that, as daunting as the flames might be, their synergy, skills, and quiet tenacity could transform the worst possible outcomes into remarkable victories. As the fire truck moved with determined speed toward the fire at Brookside Avenue, Jack couldn't help but momentarily drift into a quiet recess of his mind, where vivid flashbacks of cherished moments flickered like the soothing light from a hearth on cold nights. He saw Lucy, her small hands reaching up, fingers grasping at imaginary constellations scattered across the night sky, asking endless questions about the stars. He could feel her tiny weight tucked securely in the crook of his arm as they pointed together, her laughter bubbling like a gentle stream flowing through his consciousness. The memory was almost corporeal, filled with so much warmth and complexity, a singular flicker that grounded him amid the approaching chaos. Her innocent curiosity and joyous wonder served as his anchor, reminding him of the tranquil ordinary moments worth safeguarding against any encroaching dark. It knitted effortlessly into the grid of his resolve, a determination extending beyond duty, tinged with the personal promise to ensure such moments could continue unhindered. Meanwhile, inside the truck, Andrew's thoughts spun toward his mother, whose gentle hands always managed to set a steadying presence on his shoulder, whose stern yet lovingly spoken words of encouragement carved a backbone of resilience, proving sturdy in the face of uncertainty. The hint of worry in her eyes, moments before he'd left for this shift, lingered in the contours of his mind, reminding him why these missions transcended mere tasks. Every decision on scene bore her lessons, underscored by the love that had knitted him together through years of triumphs and trials. Oscar, too, found his thoughts straying backward to jovial family dinners, where his dad's unwittingly dry humor sparked rounds of laughter. That singularly familiar comfort, wrapped around him now like an old, cherished blanket, breathing courage into his focus. These personal reveries did more than just fill gaps in the highway hum. They were threads interwoven into the fabric of their shared oaths, connecting the man behind the mask to each heartbeat within their personal worlds. With every flashback, the duality of life, service and sanctuary, crystallized sharper, adding fuel to the fire of their purpose, rendering them all the more prepared to face the looming flames, donning their armor of collective courage, steadfast against both the fire's threat and the yearning hearts left waiting at home. As the fire engine barreled through the awakening streets, there was more than just silence and anticipation in its wake. Woven subtly through the air was a silent promise, an unspoken vow binding Jack and his team with an unyielding thread of unity and purpose. It was an understanding so profound it transcended language, a bond forged not only from sweat and practice, but from each shared glance, each moment of synchronized motion that underscored their collective resolve. Within the truck, the atmosphere was laden with this invisible oath, manifesting as a shared mentality radiating from every member, assuring them that none were alone in the face of the challenges that lay ahead. Each firefighter was an integral part of the whole, their strengths magnified by each other's presence, like individual notes combining into an unwavering symphony of response and courage. The fire awaiting them was an adversary to reveal their mettle, but their silent pact served as a bulwark against it, a constant reminder of the power they wielded when united. Their conviction was woven into the very vibrations of the vehicle, echoing in the rhythmic thrum of the tires, pulse-like in its insistence on forward momentum. Hands rested calmly on their equipment, ready to spring into action, a testament to their readiness and the silent knowledge that each would move seamlessly with the others when the time came. The gravity of their mission hung between them, but alongside it danced a quiet confidence, the deep understanding that they had each other's backs, and that those they sought to save were never far from their hearts or their thoughts. This intrinsic group mentality elevated them beyond individual capacities. Together, they were a force capable of withstanding the trials of fire and time. Like a woven fabric, the promise each one carried whispered softer than any siren, but echoed infinitely through every action they took, lending a grace and strength to their determination as they neared the dim outlines of Brookside Avenue. In this harmonious unity, fears found fates reversed, and flames were fated to yield, as destiny was molded not solely by the hands of an individual, but by the concerted will of many, standing firm and unbending under the weight of their shared pledge. From a distance, the scene on Brookside Avenue unfolded like a tumultuous painting, each stroke vibrant with chaos yet unbearably real. A thick pillar of smoke rose into the early morning sky, a dark, curling signal marking the fire's insidious reach. It billowed upwards, transforming the calm blue canvas above into a grim harbinger of destruction. The smoke was so dense that it seemed almost alive, writhing and twisting as though eager to engulf all within its creeping shadow. The air crackled with tension, its electric charge heightened by the jarring sounds of urgency. Sirens screamed and juddered through the atmosphere, punctuating the sky with their sharp insistence. Neighbors stood at a safe but watchful distance, their faces a gallery of expressions: shock, fear, worry, each one echoing the chaotic dance playing out before them. Shouts rose above the noise, frantic bursts of communication between people caught in the whirlwind, officers directing traffic, paramedics coordinating assistance, and bystanders attempting to offer solace to those distraught by the unfolding calamity. Beyond the haze of smoke and pandemonium, the stubborn flames brandished their relentless fury, tongues of fire licking hungrily at the structure, eager to find new purchase. Rooflines sagged, and windows belched intermittent plumes of ash, each yielding its bounty to the beastly hunger inside. Shadows darted back and forth amid the swirling chaos, figures moving with intent despite the bedlam, their assertive posture bespeaking purpose rather than panic. Children clung tightly to parents, watching helplessly, as the living memory of their neighborhood threatened to unravel. Amid this disorder, the isolation of personal tragedy could be felt keenly. The muffled cries for beloved pets, the whimper of uncertainty, and the heartbreak of watching a lifetime vanish into orange and gray oblivion. Even at a distance, the scent of scorched wood and fumes lay heavy in the air, swathing the senses in a pungent reminder of what was at stake. It was a scene that demanded action, a chaotic tableau woven with the threads of fear and peril, and the quiet pleas for heroes to emerge steadfastly from the sidelines. The landscape seemed poised on a knife's edge, between despair and salvation, awaiting the chosen few to restore fragile order to an unforgiving tempest. Arriving at Brookside Avenue, the fire truck came to a decisive halt, and Jack's team swiftly disembarked, their practiced movements a symphony of efficiency amidst the surrounding chaos. Stepping onto the smoke-veiled ground, each firefighter instinctively fell into their roles, a well-rehearsed ballet of observation and rapid analysis taking shape even as the inferno raged. Jack's eyes scanned the scene with the sharp acuity of seasoned experience, the weight of the situation measured in every flicker and shift of the flames. He observed the roofline's ominous sag, the broken windows exhaling smoke in rhythmic gasps, and the hungrily advancing fire, its fiery tendrils clawing for dominance. Each detail relayed through his senses formed a mosaic of potential strategies in his mind, the blueprint of their response formed with each passing second. Around him, the team members shared visual and verbal cues, a nod from Tim indicating the structural shift he'd noticed, a gesture from Oscar pointing out the possible origin of the blaze. Unfazed by the cacophony echoing around them, shouts from hastily cordoned-off onlookers, urgent directives crackling over radios, the team moved with synchronized precision, communicating in succinct bursts. Andrew, his eyes glued to the sight in front of him, quickly assessed the dynamic between the blaze and neighboring structures, calculating the fire's potential spread. Beside him, Tim relayed essential information back to Jack, his voice cutting through the dissonance with clarity and purpose. Fire seems to have started in the left quadrant, near the kitchen. Could be gas lines involved. Immediately, Jack processed the information as pieces of a tactical puzzle falling into place, decisions fusing from possibility to action. Tools appeared in hands as firefighters donned their masks, each movement fluid and decisive, setting hoses into position with methodical grace. Their unyielding focus distilled the unfolding crisis into a sequence of actionable insights, a conductor's baton orchestrating their urgency into methodical effort. With every passing heartbeat, the team's harmony against the chaos ensured the dynamic balance of the situation tipped favorably, a palpable testament to the balance of readiness and teamwork, lying at the heart of every act, ready to transform chaos into control, peril into protected promise. With a swift nod from Jack, the invisible script of their aligned roles unfolded seamlessly against the blaze that threatened Brookside Avenue. His gestures, subtle but clear, assigned each firefighter to their predetermined post with the ease of practiced routine. Like a conductor guiding a symphony, each team member absorbed and acted on commands in an unbroken flow of expertise and instinct. Andrew, with a quick acknowledgement, moved to establish an outer perimeter, his keen eyes tracing the arc of the flames to ensure no rogue ember took flight towards nearby structures. Tim, always adept at navigating tight spaces, was signaled to lead the attack line, ready to breach the acrid veil obscuring their entryway, advancing with the hose like a seasoned warrior charging under relentless fire. Oscar, an anchor of strategic calm in the face of chaos, coordinated the backup line and maintained contact with Jack, his calm radio exchanges a lifeline connecting Ground Zero to broader support channels. Each role clicked into place like gears in a finely crafted machine, the precision of their movements grounded in an instinctual understanding of what needed to unfold. Meanwhile, Jack centered himself at the helm, his strategic eye on the broader picture, poised to pivot plans as necessary, ensuring material and manpower flowed to the highest areas of need. Tools transitioned from idle to active as calloused hands adjusted nozzles, and breath lights glared defiantly through the curling columns of smoke. As preparations shifted to action, the synergy of their expertise became apparent. Every decision and unwritten agreement responded to, with swift dedication. The orderly chaos of their movements served as a silent testament to the importance of their unified front, an unfailing support for each other and those yet unseen within the structure's clutches. The air hummed with a tension forged from determination, not fear, as roles seamlessly interlocked to transform calculated strategy into a ballet of bravery and precision. Each firefighter's resolve was a note in an ongoing melody, a testament to the quiet strength of their collective determination against the indiscriminate hunger of the flames, ready to wrest life's narrative back from the inexorable, devastating advance with every confident, purpose-driven step. Just as the team began their carefully orchestrated assault on the roaring beast of flames, a new wrinkle unfurled with an icy jab of realization, the unmistakable tang of natural gas intermingled with the smoke, signifying a leak turned monstrous by the fire's grasp. Jack's mind raced as he processed the unsettling development, a cold nudge against the symphony of heat and havoc they had engaged. His training leaped to the forefront of his thoughts. This complication demanded immediate recalibration of their strategy. A gas-fueled explosion could obliterate everything within reach, the simmering threat woven into the labyrinth of smoke and flame they sought to navigate. Instantly, his voice cut through the tumult like a beacon slicing the foggy uncertainty. "All units, hold positions, there's a gas line breach." The realization hit his team with undeniable clarity. They needed to sustain their efforts and adjust their focal points to neutralize this burgeoning peril. Despite the sharp shift in challenges, Jack's unyielding command spurred his team into immediate action, their newfound vigor fueled by the deadlines whispered by dancing valves of potential detonation. Andrew, attuned to assessing surroundings, quickly redirected his scan towards visual signs of stress, vents emitting frequent pops, ground surfaces undulating, as the subterranean line shattered beneath its constraints. Tim adjusted his advance, dialing back the aggressive incursion to manage the delicate balance between neutralizing flame and not aggravating the volatile sleeping giant. Oscar, maintaining radio correspondence, promptly notified auxiliary units to deploy pressure gauges, analyzing pressure gradients to detect leak epicenters. The symbiotic flow of reminders over the radio tethered their efforts in dynamic harmony. Jack reconfigured their strategy, devising a plan B, positioning his men tactically, leveraging expertise, reason, and courage as a bulwark against potential catastrophe. Adjusting air supply calculations and deploying new water spray angles performed dual duty, snuffing flare-ups and preserving critical pressure within the increasingly volatile environment. The change in strategy was a gamble laced with tactical precision, calculated risks mitigated by the quiet bond stronger than flames, compelling them to maintain their edge, unbroken before the unforeseen chaos. In these moments, Jack and his team stood as paragons of adaptability, bridging calculated caution with instincts that translated bright warning sparks into tempered bravery, now standing shoulder to shoulder with their original resolve. The team, synchronized now into a tapestry of ironclad resolve, adjusted their strategy and pressed forward into the heart of the blazing storm. Jack's unwavering leadership paved the way as he gestured, signaling the advance with a nod that spoke volumes. The formidable barrier of heat and smoke billowed before them, an impervious wall of chaos meant to deter entry, yet their courage dictated otherwise. With each purposeful step, they wielded tools like extensions of their will, axes and thermal imaging cameras illuminating paths unseen, a dance of precision cutting through the chaotic veil. As one, they breached the searing threshold, the door yielding to their collective pressure, now wide open to welcome heroes determined to tame the beast within. The inferno loomed intimately close, a visceral testimony to the danger pulsating within. Yet they moved forward, each member threading the needle of destruction with unyielding grace. The entrance was not merely a physical barrier, but a symbolic transition, a testament to their collective courage, as they plunged into realms choked with uncertainty. Flames leaped at them, testing their resolve, shifting from foes to maps providing heat-etched guidance to ensnared lives. The concrete beneath their feet vibrated with muted urgency beneath the march of courage, echoing their journey into the grip of danger. Tim led with the hose, feeling the line surge beneath his grip, a tangible connection to hope. Amidst the fiery ocean, Andrew utilized thermal images to guide them towards precious heat signatures, undiscovered and eagerly waiting for salvation. The air melded with intensity, a tactile force speaking of roaring elements above and below, yet Jack felt his heart beat not with fear, but with a charismatic resolve, drawing strength from every footfall behind him. They advanced as hybrid beings themselves, but enveloped in armor that sang of heroism in the face of devastation. Their breaths echoed through their gear, a synchronized percussion within the relentless orchestra, unrelenting as they pressed onward, bent on turning the clamor of chaos into the soft breath of victory. Every layer passed meant renewed resolve, meticulously transforming the unpredictable environment into a tableau of purpose and resilience. Breaking through had only steeled their dedication, binding courage to action as they navigated toward the heart of danger, each step a testament to their unwavering oath sealed in both silence and the fiery theater of purpose. The inside of the burning house was a hostile, disorienting maze, where every sense was assaulted by the chaotic elements waging war within. Smoke curled through the air in thick, acrid tendrils, wrapping itself around the team like a sentient shroud eager to confuse and overwhelm. Visibility was reduced to mere inches, the familiar geometry of walls and ceiling swallowed by the murky darkness that blurred lines and distorted depth. The temperature soared to oppressive levels, searing heat radiating from walls that groaned and sighed under the fire's unforgiving grasp. Gnarled fingers of flame reached out from the devastation, sporadically illuminating the scene with a flickering glow that cast eerie shadows, distorting the path ahead into a surreal landscape. Overhead, the sharp crackle of combusting wood accompanied the unsettling chorus of hissing steam and cascading embers, each sound a fragment of the symphony of destruction laying siege to the structure. No footing was certain as debris littered the ground, transformed from seemingly benign household items into treacherous obstacles ready to trip or ensnare unwary steps. The floor vibrated with phantom tremors, a subtle foreshadowing of potential collapse beneath their determined march. Humid air pressed heavily around the firefighters, every breath through the mask, both a relief of precious oxygen and a coveted reminder of the safety beyond these fiery confines. Senses were bombarded by the acrid mix of molten synthetics and charred timber, every inhalation tinged with the reminder of urgency. Yet amidst this confusion, beacons of courage flickered within the darkness, their flashlights piercing through layers of smoke, slowly unraveling the confusion towards saving what was yet untouched. Despite the vortex of chaos, their disciplined focus carved a path of clarity amidst a world rendered alien by the blaze. It required a mental agility, a dance of instinct and training, to navigate this environment not just as a space but as a living entity, engulfing them in its searing embrace, as they sought not just to survive but to reclaim order from within its infernal grasp. Amidst the oppressive heat and swirling smoke, Jack and his team demonstrated a masterful equilibrium of instinct and strategic planning. Each maneuver was a display of practiced expertise, a ballet that balanced the raw urgency of the moment with calculated actions honed through countless hours of rigorous training. Their movements were fluid, deliberate, despite the chaos trying to unravel their resolve. Jack led his team deeper into the fiery abyss with a calm yet commanding presence, his mind a constant stream of calculations as his instincts whispered crucial adjustments to their plan. At times, the blaze mocked logic with its unpredictable whims, yet they persevered, transforming instinct into informed action with every decisive step. The thermal imaging camera in Andrew's hand swept across the landscape like a lighthouse beam cutting through a storm, diligently hunting for the faint heat signatures of those yet trapped. The men communicated in a symphony of gestures and brief exchanges, audible only within their shared bubble of focus, amid the conflagration's roar. Jack called out locations with precision, directing the distribution of effort to areas of promised success. Tim managed the hose with surgical precision, a lifeline against the hungry flames, directing controlled streams of water that hissed defiantly each time the fire's appetite was momentarily stayed. Oscar, the linchpin of their effort, kept the line with Jack taut through consistent communication, eyes scanning both ground and overhead for signs of structural instability. This ensemble, though dwarfed by the scale of fire, stood resilient, each instinct sharpened by the shared knowledge of their goals and bolstered by mutual trust. Together they inhabited a space where time flexed, where heartbeats and heavy breaths synchronized into an unyielding pulse pushing forward against adversity. In the dance of life and fire they resisted the inferno's attempt to conceal, demonstrating profound competence as they endeavored to master and ultimately diminish the chaos threatening any unchecked path to destruction. Through methodical choice and perceptive observation, they embodied the convergence of intuition and intelligence, sculpting heroism with each passage through flames escorted by their fire-forged tenacity. Inside the heart of the inferno, the raw physicality of their mission came to bear down on Jack and his team, each sensation intensified by the encircling fire's omnipresence. The oppressive heat was unrelenting, direct in its intent to sap their strength, the air vibrating with feverish intensity as if it too were aflame. Perspiration streamed down their faces under helmets, a tangible river of determination mixing with soot to leave gritty trails carved into skin. Muscles ached under the weight of cumbersome gear, each movement a feat against fatigue as the suffocating humidity clung to them like an ominous second skin. Drenched in sweat beneath layers of protective fabric, every intake of the muggy air was a shallow victory against the thickness that sought to be inhaled in its place. The coarse texture of their gloves became inseparably melded with the tool handles they clutched, their grip unsympathetic and raw, confronting the weight and the burden of duty. Beyond the physical exertion, an undercurrent of adrenaline coursed through their veins, invigorating and brutal in its incessancy. Heartbeats synced into the cadence of a battlefield drumline, a primal rhythm propelling them through the smoke-clouded fugue. Each breath taken through their masks felt earned, the cool rush of oxygen a sharp contrast against the ambient heat seeking to cripple. The blaring chorus of their equipment intermingled with the fire's ferocious growl, a symphony of survival threading through the haze. Jack felt the tremors of both haste and effort jitter through him, a dynamic tension driving movements, while emotional clarity cut through the exhaustion, steering him towards every new task. His senses were heightened, hyper-aware of every crackle, every unstable shudder from the building. It was a tactile barrage marrying acute awareness to perseverance itself. Even amidst the frenzy, the raw edge of vulnerability that came with every tactile reminder of what lay at stake fueled a relentless push in the face of tempering flames. It provided impetus for the continued assault, a flesh-and-blood paradox framing heroism within human limitation, a moment where determination transcended pain as they bent the chaotic environment to their daring resolve. In the smoldering chaos, where every edge was blurred by heat and smoke, a quiet moment of clarity sliced through the tumult as the team detected a faint human shape huddled in a corner, masked by the oppressive haze. Jack's adrenaline surged anew, seeing what was unmistakably the huddled figure of an elderly woman, her silhouette tinged with the flickering glow of an encroaching flame. In this surreal realm dominated by fire's fury, her fragility became a beacon of urgency and purpose. Her presence seemed both isolated and exposed, surrounded by licking flames that threatened to steal her breath away. The desperation magnified her vulnerability, the stoic resignation on her face captured in the sporadic light and shadows. She clutched a small frame to her chest, its cracked glass hinting at cherished memories, and Jack's heart clenched at the sight, an awareness of the deep personal stakes driving them onward. His team instinctively formed a protective cordon around her, fending off the blaze with practiced precision, a living shield determined to ensure her survival against the searing backdrop of chaos. As Tim gently reached out to comfort the woman, his touch firm yet reassuring, the intimate exchange underscored the human connection holding steady amid torment's roar. Her eyes, clouded with a mingling of fear and hope, met his, and within that gaze held a myriad of stories spun through decades. This single rescue encapsulated a narrative thread weaving between time and memory, echoing the fabric of life she cradled in that silvered frame. Jack's voice was steady as he issued precise commands to maneuver her safely out of harm's clutches, his very tone infused with the urgency and commitment driving their mission. The weight of their task crystallized, amplified by seeing her presence transform from a shadowed statistic to a tangible soul embodying dreams, laughter, heartaches, and resilience. With each painstaking step toward safety, the team physically and emotionally transcended mere duty, their movements fueled by the visceral understanding of what this life amid the flames represented, a tapestry of memories and moments pegged delicately against existence's turbulent tide. Together, they navigated this severe terrain with unwavering focus, spurred by the intangible threads linking her fate to the enduring promise, shaping their resolve into action, each commendable effort sustaining the swift narrative toward redemption and survival. The air inside the burning structure thickened with urgency, as an invisible clock marked the relentless countdown reverberating against Jack and his team's nerves. Each tick felt louder, underscoring their finite grip on safety within this tumultuous chamber of flame and smoke. The structure's groans grew more pronounced, the timbre of windows trembling in their frames, alongside the muffled protests of beams under strain, foretold the imminent risk of collapse. The elderly woman's rescue had swiftly turned the situation into a race against time, where hesitation could spell catastrophe. Over their radios crackled urgent appeals and updates from the outside, painting a vivid panorama of fervor and necessity. Jack's focus sharpened into a razor's edge, his orders crisp and need-driven, guiding his team through the labyrinth of danger with rehearsed precision. Each heartbeat amplified the tempo of their retreat, a visceral reminder that the environment around them continued its inexorable pace towards irreversible destruction. Outside, the world was moving just as inexorably, with the fiery bloom casting shadows against the twilight sky, a fiery beacon challenging the hope tethered to their rapid escape. Inside, they could feel the building's symphony of fire shifting from a contained roar to a volatile crescendo, the apnea of time tightening its grip upon their resolve. Every motion became seamless practice, as Andrew, Tim, and Oscar upheld their designated roles, Tim guiding the hose through the ascending chaos, Andrew guiding vision beyond the haze, and Oscar managing communication with sleeves rolled up against the tangible thread of time's momentum. The moments between each breath were fraught with tenuous balance, each step forward an act of defiance and control, despite the powerful urgency enfolding their actions. Jack steeled himself against the tremors abstracted through the soles of his boots, knew full well that each stride propelled them towards salvation, or into the abyss laid across the threshold of this fiery corridor. Amidst the unfolding pressure, the urgency within their hearts became flame-tempered steel, resolved to remain unyielding until sanctuary lay within reach. Pressing onward against the cumulative specter of looming danger, they remained locked in tenor with the beat of a crisis, each rhythm-tuned motion sustaining both hope and life for yet another crucially snared instant. As they edged closer to the fraught sanctuary promised by the building's exit, a high-risk decision loomed unexpectedly before Jack, casting a long shadow across their escape. The once stable hallway, now a crumbling gauntlet of debris and flame, suddenly shifted, earth-like groans echoing through the compromised structure, a perilous warning that not all might reach salvation unscathed. A support beam, its burdened sentry buckling from intense heat, swayed precariously between the steadfast team and the promise of safety beyond. Jack's eyes, honed by years of perceiving imperceptible shifts in hostile arenas, quickly caught the subtle dance of danger. A critical juncture now stood poised to test their mettle. The path they relied on seemed to tremble with doubt, needing yet another precious dose of bravery to transcend the peril. Calculating swiftly, Jack knew the danger was not merely about avoiding collapse. It was about choosing the moment to charge, measuring the weight of his responsibility against the finality that such risky decisions might render. His gaze locked onto his team, every person an integral cog in the mechanism of their collective courage. Among them, the woman, wrapped protectively within their ranks, symbolized every life saved by purpose and resolve. Time now congealed around them, each pulse of the heart, a frame captured between hesitation and valor. With the relentless inferno seething to remind them of constricted time, Jack took in a sharp breath, his decision solidifying amid smoldering uncertainty. He issued unequivocal orders. Andrew, with acute peripheral instincts, would navigate the alternate path they had covertly scouted, potentially purchasing them crucial seconds. Meanwhile, Tim and Oscar would guide the remaining team down the precarious route, each step aligning intent with breath, each inhale fueling the drive towards endurance. Jack himself committed to the center, the consistent eye at their tempest's heart, gauging every variable through knowledge and trust, each command a lifeline linking divided hope to amid shared determination. The decision, once wrenching, now felt like an alloy of choice and instinct, embedded indelibly within the swirling, flame-lit narrative around them. It was a baton passed in life's ultimate race, an emblem of fate they clasped tightly, forging the whispered path to triumph from chaos. With unity, every resolved motion, including the ones competing with fire's fierce embrace, leaned on the fragile breath of courage, seeking the exit as they charged past this final judgment by an infernal jury. In the midst of the looming chaos and the suffocating embrace of heat and smoke, Jack's focus crystallized into a singular determination. His team's safety was paramount, yet the realization struck him with the clarity of a lightning bolt. There existed a perilous option that required a lone shepherd through the inferno's jaws. The idea carried weight, punctuated by both urgency and the conviction of his leader's heart. With the team momentarily halted, caught between the hesitant decision and the oncoming collapse, Jack's eyes locked onto Andrew. He knew the youngster held potential molded by fire and tempered with fearlessness. With urgency hot in his voice, Jack signaled Andrew to lead the others on the safer path they'd uncovered amidst swirling debris, silently entrusting him as their compass through these treacherous seas. As Andrew nodded, his face steeled with the apprehension of untested responsibility, Jack's heart ached with the unspoken possibility of a solitary resolve. The elder felt within himself the blinding surge to transfix the unknown terror, to stand as the bastion against the unseen threat, a sacrifice held against the weight of his pledge. Gathering inner strength, Jack calculated each precious second that ticked away, every tremor of the compromised structure a harbinger of its impending surrender to chaos. He turned to Tim and Oscar, the silent thread of understanding woven through their exchanged glances. They knew he would stay, and with instinctive trust, they accepted the mantle of care for his decision. A whisper of fear danced in his mind, quelled by the unwavering conviction that a captain's role was sometimes to leap into darkness, ensuring the light for others transcended the affliction of flame. With steady hands, Jack prepared for his solo navigation through the compromised corridor, a calculated gambit intended to liberate quick passage for his crew and their precious charge. Each step for him teetered on the spine of finality, yet he pressed on, eyes fixed on the maelstrom beyond the smoldering threshold. Alone, yet not truly by himself, Jack carried with him the spirits and hopes of those trailing him among the embers. His sheer resolve to conquer fear paved the path forward. With a formidable courage that formed warriors from shadows, Jack took upon himself the streaking promise of light, an unwavering mantra carried upon the tireless heartbeat of duty, a beacon unfaltering in the conflagration's searing breath. With the weight of responsibility heavy on his shoulders, Jack ventured deeper into the labyrinth of fire and shadow, bound to the narrow corridor that trembled with anticipation. The floor beneath was a minefield of jagged debris, scattered remnants of a structure desperately holding onto its shape even as the fire gnawed at its foundations. Each step required a delicate balance between urgency and caution, a dance across a slender bridge where every misstep threatened a plunge into abyssal danger. Overhead beams groaned perilously, threatening to relinquish their burden to gravity's inexorable pull. Every breath Jack took was measured, filtered through the mask that provided life-saving air, even as it fogged with the heat of the encompassing blaze. Flames darted hungrily from either side, their fierce glow lighting his makeshift path with perilous warmth, an insistent companion urging him onward toward the dim promise of escape hidden within this corridor of uncertainty. Ahead, the exit loomed like a dim beacon, haloed by the contrasting light of freedom, tugging against the encroaching dark, the promise of safety shimmering just beyond arm's reach. The corridor's narrow confines forced Jack to navigate dexterously past encumbrances, the thudding rhythm of his heart synchronizing with the crumbling protests of the building about him. Walls, scorched and blistered, seemed to exhale in exertion, threatening to close in a suffocating embrace. An oppressive heat infested the air, urging him towards every narrowing squeeze as time ebbed mercilessly toward an end. Jack pressed forward, instincts sharp and eyes resolute, feeling the press of moments lost behind him merging into a single note of resolve. He pictured his team's path diverging alongside his solitary journey, aware that his sacrifice served as the guardian of their faster exit. With each burst of flame that painted the corridor in flickering vistas of peril, Jack envisioned the flicker of life stubbornly enshrined within them, bolstering his pace. It was a passage fraught with hazard and half-promised sanctuary, each treacherous step an iron-forged testament to unwavering will. Emerging from the inferno's maw, Jack clung to the elation born from having weathered the storm unbowed, a testament to the indomitable spirit harboring life and light against the consuming grip of dark. As Jack advanced through the narrow, treacherous corridor, there came a haunting moment where the dance of determination almost faltered into the shadow of despair. Just as he began steering toward the semblance of an exit, a violent groan erupted overhead, a chilling prelude to the collapse of a flaming beam that crashed with brutal finality across his path. The resounding impact sent a shockwave reeling through him, his heartstrings momentarily slackening as reality shuddered beneath the weight of combustible consequence. The fiery barricade sprawled before him, its smoldering presence blocking salvation behind a searing curtain of hazard and ash. For a brief instant, the air expired of hope, vivid and fragile like glass, fractured by the blaze that seemed to turn its gaze upon Jack with a voracious hunger, daring him to challenge its claim. The oppressive heat wrapped around him, a relentless burden trying to pull him into its fiery maw, whispering insidious tales of defeat that threatened to cloud judgment, and still the pulse throbbing against time's urgent plea. But in the crucible of adversity, Jack found his crucible of resolve, a stubborn refusal to concede to fate's unyielding grasp. Drawing strength from the memory-lit corridors of his mind, where courage sketched fortresses and the fire-forged pact with his team burned brightly, he faced the daunting path anew. Gathering breath and composure with a resolve that shimmered with the firelight's defiant hue, he leveraged the skills honed by unwavering discipline and the calloused familiarity with flame-hewn adversity. With a powerful lunge, Jack sought an alternate anchor against the fiery assault, his hands and tools wrestling against the encroaching ruin that barred his passage. The exertion coursed through his muscles, fiery tendrils nipping at his gear, challenging the delicate strength woven through heart and sinew as he carved a slender passage through the sway of shadows. Resisting the heavy pull of despair, Jack emerged from the deceptive cradle of precarity into a sanctum of determination, fortified by the profound knowledge of shared purpose. A life harbored by flickering love and unwavering drive, woven into the struggle between rebirth and flame-stoked ruin. With resolve roused by the near miss of failure, Jack pressed onward through the inferno, now charged anew with the fierce light of survival echoing bright and unyielding against the heart of the darkened tempest. In the volatile crucible of heat and shadow, as Jack steeled himself against the fiery impasse, a sudden surge of hope threaded through the chaos with the arrival of Tim, his silhouette emerging through the hazy glow like a beacon of enduring friendship and determination. Moments earlier, under Jack's directions, Tim had rerouted his path to ensure the team's swift passage, but the tether of camaraderie and intuition had drawn him back towards Jack's path, sensing another way they had been destined to navigate together. His silhouette morphed from mere shape into substance, a vivid testimony to the indomitable spirit linking them. Equipped with a reinforced lever and sturdy resolve, Tim joined Jack, his expression laced with the unmistakable fusion of care and courage. Here was the manifestation of aid and solidarity, a reminder that even against the fiercest trials, they did not stand alone, an embodiment of the unbreakable human chain forged in the fires of duty and loyalty. With synchronized efforts, the two firefighters tackled the fiery barricade, a partnership that melded muscle and mind through shared purpose, balancing strength with strategy, as the path before them loosened from the confines of flame and fear. Together they applied pressure in strategic points, shifting debris, and leveraging each other's strengths to widen the margins of escape. The dynamic bond pulsed with reinforced vigor. Their mutual understanding and trust amplified each movement, harmonizing intent with precision. The smoke-swirled corridor, once formidable in isolation, regretted its claim to Jack's radiating resolve, with Tim's resolute reinforcement shifting the narrative. As blockades yielded under their combined force, Jack's heart lightened, newly buoyant in the shared burden borne by his teammates' intervention. It was an aid not just in physical form, but in spirit, a valiant confirmation that even in solitude's daunting presence, the echoes of human connection could carve through shadows to fashion outcome anew. Their emergence from the luminous haze, side by side, marked more than survival. They embodied the resolute testament against despair's encroachment. Freed from the clutches of the corridor's snare, Jack and Tim inhabited a broader expanse, each pulse of their joined presence an enduring testament to shared tenacity and trust, the luminescent glow of attainable salvation illuminating their brave horizon. With Tim beside him, Jack felt a renewed surge of determination, their combined efforts finally breaching the fiery blockade, forging a path through the veiled corridor to the expanse of safety beyond. The air shifted around them, still charged with urgency but now infused with the exhilarating taste of survival, just as refreshing as a breeze following a storm. The once formidable flames, which had roared defiantly, now seemed to cower in their wake, an echo of obstinance yielding to a determined resolve. As they stepped past the charred barricade, the oppressive cloak of smoke began to lift, revealing the night sky above, a celestial vault free from the chaos they'd fought tooth and nail to escape. Their advance into the open came as a shared exhale, an unspoken affirmation of resilience marked by fire's baptism and two hearts beating in defiance of defeat. The transition from oppression to relief was immediate, the encompassing firefight traded for vast openness, the weight of tension easing, with each step further from the flaming maw. Outside, their team awaited, faces shadowed with concern transforming into expressions of profound relief as Jack and Tim emerged, battle-worn but resolute. The moment stretched warmly among them, a circle of camaraderie formed by the shared burden of danger now gently lifted. Within this acoustical tapestry of relieved breaths and whispered congratulations, they focused on what mattered most, the successful exodus of those they had set forth to save. The elderly woman they had rescued stood nearby, eyes weary, yet imbued with gratitude reflective of all they had risked. Her frail demeanor softened at this vision of doused struggle, her whispered thank you an echo resonating with untold stories hedged within her frame. As the steadying arms of their fellow firefighters closed around them, Jack and Tim shared a glance weighted with more than words could summon, victory and relief interwoven in silent tribute to the tenacity of spirit and flesh. The angling sun heralded the end of night's ordeal, its light caressing faces marked with soot and triumph, the unbreakable bond of shared struggle, a vibrant tapestry set against the dawning horizon. Here, in breath and spirit revitalized, they stood not just as survivors, but as testaments to endurance, a synergy of courage revealing the gift of yet another sunrise, etched into the landscape of valor and hope. The crackling conflagration behind them faded into a backdrop of distant echoes as the morning sun bathed Jack, Tim and their team in a warm embrace, confirming the hard-won truth that they had indeed emerged alive from the infernal night. Hearts thumped steadily in chests forged resilient by courage and fueled by camaraderie. Every breath now felt like an affirmation, an embrace of life pulsing through each firefighter as they stood together, breathing freely the untainted dawn-blessed air. The formerly oppressive heat lay behind them, replaced by the cool caress of a dawn breeze that whispered with each passing breath the enduring testament of their survival. Faces, once shadowed by soot and intensity, now bore the dawning glimpse of relief, a collective recognition shared silently among the brethren in arms, that together, against the odds expressed in heat and darkness, they had not just lived but had triumphed. Strengthened by resilience, the circle reclaimed its center as a sanctuary of hope, rendered stronger by ordeal and endurance. Yet, the relief of survival was not only internal. Alongside them, the fragile figure of the elderly woman they had rescued stood as a vibrant testament to their victory over adversity. Her frail frame echoing vitality now cradled by an indomitable tapestry of gratitude. Her gentle, appreciative gaze turned to Jack and Tim, speaking unspoken thanks, a human acknowledgement of life's enduring tapestry. Her presence, once cloaked in the shadows of danger, now unfolded anew into the nurturing arms of safety, emblematic of every precious life their oath sought to safeguard. What's more, it emblazoned on their hearts the purpose that pulsed with renewed clarity amidst the radiant dawn, an embodiment of duty transcended into fulfillment. As murmurs of acknowledgement slipped into the chorus of nature reawakening, their eyes met, Jack's, Tim's, every firefighter's, a silent pact, reflecting in the rays of the ascending sun, confirming a shared conviction infinitely more powerful than the flames and smoke they left behind. Standing there, silhouetted against the promise born from night's fractious grip, they entered a new light, each moment a victory, each acknowledgement breathed a life, affirmation alive, with the clarity of dawn's unspoken parchment that they were alive, forever etched into their shared bravado and belief. As the adrenaline of the rescue subsided, Jack felt the tension dissipate, like morning mist under a rising sun, leaving in its wake a profound, bone-deep exhaustion that gripped him unexpectedly. His legs, which moments before carried him with unwavering determination, now wavered beneath the weight of fatigue, a gentle tremor echoing through his knees, as if the very earth endeavored to humble his relief. It was as though the scaffoldings of his strength had suddenly been stripped away, urging him to lean against the fire engine for support. He took in a long breath, tasting the lingering ash, but relishing the renewal of cool, untainted air. Each heartbeat resonated like a distant drum, steadying yet so palpably softened by the solitude left in the wake of fiery adrenaline. Around him, each firefighter exhibited their raw state. Tim, the steadfast partner through the trial, momentarily succumbed to a hasty collapse, using his equipment to brace himself as shudders relayed through tired muscles. Their collective exertions molded into a silent, shared acknowledgement of weariness that transcended spoken words. Amidst this tangible exhaustion, each body reacted like a weary marionette finally released from the strings of tension. Andrew, younger yet not immune to the ordeal, shivered briefly, the built-up energy conduits leaving his system all at once, a cathartic tremble as he propped himself up against a wall, eyes fluttering shut in brief reprise. Oscar's shoulders sagged with the gentle inevitability of gravity, as though carrying unseen burdens now released under the open sky, inviting him to recollect. Even the elderly woman they rescued, whose life was a testament to resilience, sat cradled among them, her body relaxing in soft trembles as silent gratitude glimmered in her weary gaze. This intricate choreography of collapse and recovery displayed such authentic purity, in stark contrast to the raging din they left behind. Each breath steadied over time, the tangible rhythm of life softening their physical strains under the warm embrace of the dawning morning. Together they existed, battle-worn yet resilient, each convulsive tremor, an engraved testimony of joint survival, of humans who had met the gale of adversity and anchored in shared relief upon the shores of salvation. Under the waning firelight, against the backdrop of incandescent coming dawn, their forms trembled with quiet magnificence, a monument of unity bound by flesh and fortitude. As the sun edged higher, draping the landscape in soft, golden hues, an encompassing stillness settled over the sight, folding its quiet arms around Jack and his team. The noises from the fire were now subdued echoes in the distance, their passage marked by the smoldering remains of what had been. Silence, profound and enveloping, replaced the cacophony of clamor and peril they had braved, claiming dominion over the weary scene. There were no cheers of victory or exultant cries of triumph. Instead, this hollow calm threaded through moments shared and shaped by intensity, a silent testament to mutual acknowledgement of the shared trauma woven between them, like an invisible bond. Their eyes were averted, fixed on the ground or the horizon, not out of shame or sorrow, but as an escape to give space to the tender wounds smoldering beneath their exteriors. It was a moment when nothing needed to be said between them, Each understood the profound weight of what they had survived, their spirits soothed by the wordless camaraderie born of fire. In this silence that held more potency than words, the group remained close, forming an unbroken chain of silent solidarity. No one broke the stillness with unnecessary speech, for there was a reverence to this shared experience that transcended vocal validation. Tim sat beside Jack, eyes transfixed, not on their immediate surroundings, but turned inward, processing individual confronted fears alongside their collective journey. Andrew's gaze wandered skyward, perhaps seeking solace in the unfolding sky, a firmament undeterred by smoke clouds below, an apt allegory for hope unbowed by circumstance. Even the elderly woman, central to their mission, understood this profound quiet, nestled within its cocoon, her presence a poignant reminder that life, fragile and precious, endured past the flames. The only sounds were subtle, rustling fabric, the gentle chorus of wind through trees, the rhythmic inhales and exhales of souls, knitted by survival's thread. Together they sat not in celebration nor despair, but in acquiescence to the echoes of their truth, the echoes that reminded them each of resilience past the brink of collapse, collectively sailing elation's quiet aftermath. Here, beneath the wide waking sky, they found a shared sanctuary in silence, a powerful acknowledgement of journey and endurance, enveloped in unwritten embrace. With the rescue complete and the smoldering ruins fading into the distance, Jack and his team embarked on the journey back to the firehouse. The ride, now washed in the soft light of early morning, was enveloped in a lingering, contemplative silence. The fire truck moved steadily, the rhythmic hum of its engine providing a backdrop to the introspective quiet that had settled over its occupants. Each firefighter sat immersed within their own thoughts, the emotional processing of the night's events beginning to take root in the solitude provided by this brief intermission. Jack, seated at the helm, stared at the road ahead, the awe of survival intertwined with reflection guiding his gaze. Images of flame and shadow played behind his eyes, memories still vivid, sketching the night's perils in hues of intensity and resolution. He felt the soft echo of exhaustion tug at his limbs, mingled with the subtle undertow of gratitude for the lives spared, for the lessons woven into the night's tapestry, knitting courage and vulnerability into the same sacred thread. Tim rested against the window beside Jack, his usual buoyant demeanor tempered by the gravity of what lingered over the horizon of experience. His mind danced between gratitude for their shared success and the intricacies of triumph under fire. Andrew and Oscar, both seated just behind, bore weariness etched into their features, traces of the night's demands mingling with the coastal tide of relief they now navigated together. Andrew's youthful resolve remained steadfast, yet now, quiet introspection settled upon him with the weight of reflection, threading questions of bravery and resilience into his contemplative journey. Oscar, steady and profound, glanced periodically at his companions, absorbing the shared silences as an unspoken ritual, a healing embrace of acquired knowledge and burgeoning understanding. The elderly woman, a presence both significant and gentle amid them, rested quietly, eyes distant yet peacefully shadowed, with the glow of fatigue and gratitude interwoven. Within this rolling sanctuary, free from bursting at the seams with action's flare, they rode together down avenues, where words hung unspoken, yet parsed with the weight of survival and grace. This silence, cradled gently by the team, marked the beginning of an unwritten chapter, where the profound alchemy of reflection and renewal awaited them upon their return to the familiar yet forever altered embrace of home. As the fire truck hummed its steady rhythm back to the firehouse, Jack found himself haunted by flashes of the night's fiery ordeal, echoes replaying in the depths of his mind. Vivid mental images flared and faded in rapid succession, his hands wrapped around the hose as flames leapt skyward, the sharp crackle of burning beams threatening overhead, his team moving like an unyielding tide against the encroaching destruction. Among these snapshots of chaos and determination, the silhouette of the elderly woman emerged repeatedly, her weary gaze a poignant reminder of their mission's heart, the irreplaceable value of life saved from the brink. The night's screams, initially distant, resonated louder in reflection, growing clearer with each recalled moment, encompassing his senses now cushioned by safety. As Jack's gaze remained fixed on the road ahead, the flickering remembrance of fiery tendrils danced behind his eyes, painting the dashboard with the ghostly glow of an extinguished storm. Tim, seated beside Jack, experienced his own parade of memories, Andrew's steadfast glance amidst the flames, signaling their unspoken pact of trust and resilience. The recollection of the woman's grateful eyes, magnified by the surreal glow of the blaze, lingered, etching themselves into his consciousness as powerful beacons of affirmation. He remembered the flavorful acridity of smoke as it clawed against his throat, the air humming with urgency that spurred their synchronized dance of salvation. Oscar, watching the sun climb steadily along its ancient path, found comfort in its predictability, a stark contrast to the evening's harrowing unpredictability. Inwardly, he reviewed the night's mental ledger, the successful interplay of strategic maneuvers, the seamless transition from calculated risks to remarkable triumphs. Andrew's youthful perspective brimmed with a kaleidoscope of colors and emotions, heat waves bending the corridors of reality, adrenaline-driven pulses that dared him to confront fear's facade with audacity. Amidst this reflective tapestry, the essential truth shimmered clearly. The night's echoes, at once haunting yet affirming, resonated within them in unbreakable cord-binding courage to the legacy of enduring action. Drawn together by shared experience, they journeyed onward beneath the tranquil morning sky, carrying within them the indelible impressions of the night's fiery ballet, a testament to vulnerability metamorphosed into unwavering resolve. As they approached the firehouse, the familiar architecture looming proudly against the soft morning light, Jack felt a renewed sense of purpose settle over him, even amidst the worn fatigue clinging to his bones. The ride back had offered space for reflection and the quiet processing of harrowing memories, yet its end signaled a gentle return to routine and readiness. Stepping down from the fire truck, Jack cast a reflective glance back at his crew, their expressions reflecting a collective tapestry of weariness, resilience, and silent determination. As weary hands and feet felt the familiar paving beneath them, each breath inhaled carried more than air. It resonated with the shared commitment that had carried them through the night, and yet would propel them forward into whatever lay ahead. The firehouse, once just four walls encapsulating their daily grind, seemed now to breathe with renewed vitality. This wasn't merely a fortress. It was their bastion, and their bond forged anew in the crucible of heat and resolve. Together they filed into the firehouse, an unspoken agreement binding them to the awaiting day's potential. There was no embellishment or undue chatter, only the steady rhythms of gear stowed, hoses checked, and weary bodies stretching kinks from muscles raw from exertion. Tim offered Jack a nod, one that encapsulated the pride and promise gained from facing flames and challenges with undeterred courage. Andrew, although tired, mirrored this notion, his young eyes holding determination lit like embers, ready to rekindle at the first call to arms. As they settled back into the rhythms of their sanctuary, Jack felt comfort in the constancy of their routine, a daily cadence that would march them toward countless challenges with unwavering preparedness. The bond forged through fire wove its threads more intricately into their resolve, coloring even the darkest specters of night, with the promise that, tomorrow, they would stand ready once more. United by shared purpose and empowered by their intertwined destinies, Jack, Tim, Andrew, and Oscar felt that recurrent promise, the steadfast aurora bound to their spirit, championing their readiness to enter the fray anew each day, until even the fiercest inferno bowed to their dauntless resolve. As the firehouse embraced them, shielding dreams for tomorrow, they stood together as guardians, resolved to face and conquer whatever brimmed beyond the horizon's fiery veil. As the firehouse doors closed quietly behind Jack and his crew, the peaceful dawn enveloping them in its gentle embrace, an unspoken acknowledgement passed among them, a profound awareness of the intrinsic cost that accompanies the mantle of heroism. In the eyes of the world, they were steadfast guardians, undaunted by the flames they faced with unyielding resolve. Yet beneath the armor of valor, each firefighter carried the hidden weight of their chosen path, a burden not confined to the hours spent within the blaze, but stretching into the quiet moments afterwards when the shadows lengthened and the echoes of the past flickered in silent corners of their minds. The physical toll writ upon their bodies was visible in the tired lines etched upon their faces, but the truest cost was the one imprinted on their hearts, an indelible mark forged by necessity, tempered by sacrifice, and bound by the stories of those they served. This truth, unwritten yet deeply understood, resided in the spaces between words, nestled in the subtle glances exchanged as they prepared for a day of well-earned rest. Heroism demanded more than the courage to face danger. It required the fortitude to shoulder the unseen scars of rescue's aftermath, the moments of doubt, the shadows of loss, the silent echoes of what might have been. Unlike the flames they quelled with water and grit, the flames within burned with introspective intensity, a fierce reminder of the unwavering commitment they embodied. The courage to step forward repeated as a mantra against the uncertainties of life, each day met with the noble acceptance of this balance, that where sacrifice endured, dignity emerged unbroken, and where struggle reigned, strength flourished. To be a hero was to accept the paradox of vulnerability and strength intertwined, acknowledging the hidden, emotional currency spent with each call, each rescue, each breath drawn amid roaring tempests. And as Jack and his team embraced this truth, they knew that they stood united, as both guardians and warriors, unswayed by the shadows that encroached, buoyed by the unfaltering belief in a brighter, hope-filled tomorrow forged from the embers of today's trials. As the day unfolded and gentle golden light filtered through the windows of the firehouse, Jack and his team transitioned seamlessly from reflection to routine, each motion a testament to their unwavering resolve. They moved with the practiced grace of those who had long embraced the rhythm of readiness. Tim, despite his weary posture, made his way to check the gear, ensuring every piece was ready at a moment's notice, the familiar routine infusing structure into the quiet aftermath of chaos. Andrew gathered his thoughts amidst the silence, organizing equipment with meticulous care, eyes focusing on the unity of purpose that had steered them through the fire's jaws. They were more than firefighters. They were the keepers of promises made to a world reliant on their courage, promises of safety, protection, and the enduring spirit that meets danger with a steady heart. As Jack observed his crew, he felt a surge of quiet pride, rooted deeply in shared experience, that solidified the bridge from past to future encounters. In the heart of this shared sanctuary, the underlying resolve to face tomorrow embedded itself further with every breath inhaled in its familiar embrace. Oscar, with a steady hand and thoughtful gaze, checked the apparatus alongside Tim, signaling the tacit understanding that failure was never an option, even amidst the shadow of uncertainty each shift presented. The bonds of unspoken trust and collective strength intertwined tighter here, in moments both grand in silence and humble in scope. Jack knew this resolve was not merely in preparation or proximity, but in the resolute belief that whatever fire burned tomorrow, it would meet not just individuals, but a fortified unit, molded from the perseverance of today's trials. As they paused between preparations, the shared glances and nods affirmed a future defined by their commitment. A new day approached with its own challenges, yet Jack and his crew stood steadfast in the vow of guardianship crafted from flame-honed courage, anticipating the echoes of alarms not with fear, but with resolute acceptance and the knowledge that they would always rise to the call. Here, in this sequence of readiness and resolve, they found their renewed conviction, a living testament to the hero's journey, undaunted, unflinching, and eternally prepared to meet the dawn's trials with unwavering fortitude. In the quiet sanctuary of the firehouse, as the world roused itself to the familiar cadence of another day, Jack and his crew embodied the intrinsic truth about the cost of heroism, a truth that whispered through the hallowed corridors of their shared experiences. The cost, often invisible to those looking in from the outside, was woven into the very fabric of each firefighter, shaping them in ways profound and quiet. It was a cost born of countless sacrifices, the tightening of life's scope to fit the singularity of purpose, and the nightly embraces left hanging in the air as duty called them away. For every flame doused, every life saved, a piece of something unspoken etched itself onto their souls. The weight of lives, not just rescued, but lived in the shadows of what might have been. They learned to live harmoniously with the balance of this solemn knowledge, a recognition both of the shared force of their actions and the spaces around it carved by fire and the echoes of past alarms. Yet within this solemnity lay an unshakable foundation, a deep, abiding sense of their vital role in the grand tapestry of life. Here in the quiet moments, absent the blaze and the chaos, Jack understood that true heroism was not measured in grandiose gestures, but in the unwavering commitment to being present, to showing up with resolve and heart in the face of adversity time and again. The cost was real, yet they paid it freely, not as martyrs seeking recognition, but as guardians driven by the luminous pulse of duty and a love for humanity's eternal thread. This balanced truth filled the firehouse as effortlessly as the sun-swept beams, reminding them that despite the unrelenting nature of their challenges, they possessed the strength to shoulder them together. In this acceptance, they found solace and purpose, nestled not in bravado but in the quiet honor of service, and the resilient echo of every call answered. It was in this essence that Jack and his crew found their place, deeply embedded in the cycles of renewal and resilience, forever marked by the courage to carry forward, and ready to meet whatever may come with unwavering fortitude and the shared stewardship of hope.